Where's Paul?
Oh,
How do we do it?
wait, we're missing something.
How do we do this intro without Paul?
Hello and welcome to the Thursday show, everybody. It is me, Dustin Henshaw, and I am joined by Adam Camilleri. I don't know where Paul is though.
I don't know where he is either. Wait, yeah, there
Oh,
he
wait,
is.
wait,
There
wait,
he is.
wait.
There's an empty chair.
Empty chair. Okay, here we go.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Thursday show. This is your weekly hype show. We're here to pump up the jam for the upcoming tournaments of this weekend. We have a couple of really spicy, nice little things to hopefully wet your whistle for some of the beautiful and amazing things going on in our community this weekend. First up, we have the Battle to End Alzheimer's from Westminster, Maryland. Then we have the Warhound at Games Grid in April over in Utah, and then the Coventry Team Tournament from, we're assuming, Coventry in the United Kingdom, in England.
London,
yeah, definitely. Coventry, London. Coventry
London.
Street, London. Hey, let's spice it up. But Dustin, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing okay. How about you? I've been getting over a lot of bad sicknesses.
Yeah, as in
COVID's been ravaging my
Okay.
town lately.
Okay, I thought you might be just down on the game. You're talking about the meta or something.
Oh no! Okay, but I'm not going to get into that right now. We only have an hour. We only have an hour, Adam.
It's a 40K show, Dustin. Jeez,
It's true. I could talk about that all day for sure.
it's fair. Substandard Potato is the TO for the Battle of Alzheimer's, hanging out in the chat. Thanks for joining us very much. Please tell us a little bit, if you'd like, if you've got a spiel for us to read out about how you will be supporting. What the cause is, if anything you'd like us to read out
absolutely.
in support of the event. Absolutely happy to. Be absolute pleasure. And I love your name. Do you have has it got an alt account that is like perfectly adequate potato or something, or
French fry?
French fry, the end stage of potato.
The end stage, or just baked.
But so for those who don't know what our show is about, we will be bringing you a minimum of 3 events from the upcoming weekend. Sometimes it'll be 2 if it's a really big event, like an LVO. We'll be doing coverage of maybe 1 or 2, or an LGT, things with multiple hundreds of players and 3 days or more of gaming. But we'll bring you those, and we'll tell you about how many players are in the event, where it's from, how many rounds, and then we'll go through the quick and dirty stats. What is in attendance? How many of each faction is showing up? And then we round it out for each event of the coverage, giving you a couple of the best lists, or most interesting or thematic lists, or just memey lists in attendance, depending on how whimsical we're feeling at the time. Anything I missed there, Dustin?
No, I think you covered all of it. It's important to point out that we're not always pulling out like the top players, especially now because it's kind of early in the season. We haven't gotten a lot of the big tournaments out of the way yet. We haven't got the big names kind of getting their names out there. We'll see though, but because right now it's Adam going through and saying, that's a cool list. Let's look at that one.
That's pretty much how it's at. Unless you're somebody, if you finished in the top of the ITC in the previous season, I do try and pull you up and see what you're up to.
Of course.
If you're not up to anything interesting, easy a la some of the people who are just running all the void weaves and stuff at the moment, I'm less inclined to pull it up just because there's not much to talk about there. Same, unfortunately, can be said for a lot of Custodes lists that have gotten to that kind of cookie cutter stage. I think we've been rejoined by the Paul Murphy.
Well, he might have sat back down there. Oh, this chair is talking.
It's the empty chair. So Paul, before when the show started, Paul went to go reset his router and left just the empty chair with the back fin. I'm like, clip that. We're using that for if you keep
That's how we can go. That's how we can go forward with the show right there.
That's it. How you doing, brother?
Look, sometimes it's just as good as the empty chair. It's
it's just the voice we need, right? That's all we need.
You are just in time to introduce us to our first event. If you want to pick up the call, mate.
Oh yeah, let's do it. Hopefully, we mentioned the full color terrain and brand new mats.
No, that's all you, buddy. Go ahead.
We did not.
Oh well, look, if you've just tuned in, I want to make sure to point you to the full color terrain that's up in limited quantities on the Frontline Gaming Network, which we're happy to be a part of and on. And don't forget, you can get your tickets for the Atlantic City Open coming up June 10th through the 12th.
And we missed heaps too. We missed heaps of stuff, Dustin.
Yeah, we didn't do this well. We were really lost without you, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, seriously, look, this show is actually we're talking about a good cause here. We're talking about some tournaments. If the guys didn't let you know, this is your weekly tournament meta show where we talk about what you're going to see coming up over the weekend, and maybe how to beat it. Maybe we slip in some stuff about there if we could even figure it out.
Substandard Potato, the TO of Battle to End Alzheimer's, has just mentioned that the event was inspired after he unfortunately lost his grandfather to Alzheimer's in 2020. We're hosting at Tables and Towers in Westminster, Maryland. This is Anthony Burstong's store. Couldn't do it without him. The store is giving us 100% of the tickets to The Longest Day, which is an Alzheimer's research fundraiser, raffling off a bunch of paint jobs from studios and letting people hit me with pies, the works.
Oh, that sounds pretty fun. So
Oh.
yeah, we're going to be talking about the Battle Land Alzheimer's, Warhound game at Grid April Grand Tournament and the Coventry Team Tournament. Does anybody know where Coventry is? We're going to
Somewhere in
tell you.
London.
Yeah,
London, we already figured it out.
hold tight. We're going to get there, but but let's talk about the Battle to End Alzheimer's, which in Westminster, Maryland, here in the U.S. Which, by the way, if you're in the U.S. today, this is truly an international show. I'm actually the only one this might apply to. It is National Burrito Day.
Ooh, that's a good
That's
time.
delicious.
That's a good day.
That's a good day.
Me
Wait,
Well, we had some burritos.
I want a burrito now. I'm
too.
hungry.
Well, look, you just got to get, I don't know, write your congressman if you have it or something. I don't know what you got up there.
I mean, I don't have to have a burrito day to have a burrito. I think it just feels like it's a good excuse.
It
to
just
have
tastes a
one.
little bit better.
It does taste a
But-
little bit better.
But back to the tournaments, I just wanted to mention that the Battle in Alzheimer's in Westminster, Maryland, 98 players, 5 rounds. And look, let's celebrate this. 100% of the attending players submitted their factions in BCP, so we have something to talk about. Hashtag they did the right thing.
Did the right thing.
Thank
Award
you,
winner.
guys. That is great.
Quick and dirty stats time.
Yeah, Dustin, can you run down and see what factions we got represented?
I can, and I can do it 100% accurately because everybody has it in there. So this is fantastic. Imperial Super Faction, there is 1 Imperium, which is Grey Knights and an Imperial Knight, 10 Custodes, 4 Astra Militarum, and 1 Grey Knight. Space Marine Super Faction, there are 3 Dark Angels, 1 Space Wolf, 3 Ultramarine, 1 Black Templar, 1 White Scar, 1 Imperial Fist, and 2 Iron Hands. Good spread there. Chaos Super Faction, there are 3 Chaos Soup, 2 Chaos Space Marine, 2 T-Suns, 1 Death Guard, and 2 Demons.
That's a
Xeno
nice
Super
spread.
Faction, it's really well spread out right now, like, aside from obviously the Golden Cliff right now. But the Xeno Super Faction, there are 5 Necrons, 3 Orcs, and 16 Tau. So much for that good spread. The Tau players
ruined it.
I jinxed it.
Ruined it.
Yeah.
You jinxed it. That was Paul's fault. The Hive Mind Super Faction, there are 7 Tyranids and 1 Hero GSC. And then the Eldari Super Faction, as always, a full spread of 5 Eldari, 2 Drakari, 7 Harlequins, and 5 Asuriani. So the faction podium coming out with Tau at the top with 16, then Custodes at 10, and then Nids and Harleys tied at 7. That right there, that is the epitome of the meta right now.
It is. It really is. You could probably have. I mean, you could rearrange any of these right now. Whichever way you'd like, and it would all be pretty representative of how the game is at the moment. I'd like to know, there was a couple of big holes in the Imperial Super Faction. There is no knights in this event, apart from the 1 mixed Imperium, which had Imperial Knights in it. And that's the reason I noted what was in that one, because it was the only knight in representation of the whole thing. There's no Renegade Knights. There's no Imperial Knights. There's no Sisters. There's no Admech. And yeah, I thought it was quite interesting because we got stuff like, there's Death Guard, there's Demons, there's Chaos Soup, there's Orcs, there's 1 GSC, there's a couple of bits and pieces here and there, but yeah, no Sisters.
There's
And
4 Astra Militarum.
I was about to say, how
4.
is there? How did Admech win the LVO? And then there's more Astra Militarum than Admech, like, since the LVO. Like, it just makes no sense to me.
I have no answer for you. I love Astra Militarum, but it's very surprising to see them and no Sisters or Admech.
It's bizarre. Absolutely.
Sisters
bizarre.
have been one of those that folks have seemed to struggle to find that right combination, and then I think if you do bring the right combination, it's like the wrong tournament.
Yes.
So if you're building a shooting list, things outshoot them. If you're building a fighting list, things outfight them. It's tough to find, I think, and it's very interesting.
Yeah, in addition, I feel like more than a bunch of other armies, Sisters live and die on which 5 missions out of the is it 12 we've got in the GT pack, or is it 10 in the GT pack?
Is it
Whichever.
9? No, it was 10?
9, whatever.
9.
It's more than
Wow.
5, and
It's more than 5.
it's more than 5, and they live and die by which kind of subset they get. If there's a bunch of 6 objective missions, they will do worse. If it's a bunch of 5s, they'll do a little better. And just everything in between. They struggle a lot with the hold 2s, I've found, because they don't like taking a bunch of OBSEC. Usually it's 3x5 battle sisters as all their OBSEC, and then you can kind of give it out in bits and pieces from a dogmata. And so they can struggle on some of the hold 2s, on some of the 6 objective missions as well, especially against some of the more powerful armies out there that really don't have much trouble with toughness 3 bodies.
Objective secured as a crutch.
That's
I
a crutch.
agree.
It's fair. It's fair.
Nobody should take objective secure.
That's right. It should be eradicated from the game. Let's get rid of it. Jumping down to the top players in attendance, here's a name that we haven't called out on this show in quite a while. And many people on the show who've joined us maybe through the middle of 8th edition or 9th edition. This is a gentleman who used to win, or has won just about everything at some point. This is Andrew Gagne.
Mhm.
He's playing Tau. He's playing a Bork and Patrol, super heavy auxiliary, and a Spearhead. So as in he's spending a bunch of his CP up front for the privilege of a bunch of extra tools. Starts off with an Enforcer Commander with 2 marker drones. 10 Kroot, 3 crisis suits with 3 gun drones, 3 crisis suits with 2 gun drones and a shield, 4 Kroot hounds, a Storm Surge in the super heavy auxiliary, then into the Spearhead has a crisis commander with 2 marker drones, 3 hammerheads, and 3 sky rays. This is a very unique list in the lexicon of the Tau archetypes. What do you guys think?
I want to point out 2 stories of commitment and non-committed commitment in this list. We only have 1 Storm Surge. Come on, you know. But then 3 Sky Rays and 3 Hammerheads. You know, so
it's crazy. It could easily be one of each, one Hammerhead, 1 Sky Ray, 3 Storm Surges. You know.
Yeah.
But he's gone for these. I mean, this only makes sense as Borkan for those who don't know. Borkan is the one that turns off invulns with their strat, right?
It's the strat I think in an Oregon Bowl, yeah.
So you already have 3 hammerheads that ignore invulns, and then you have that juicy Storm Surge that can do it for the price point of a couple of CP. And so all of a sudden, you're teched really well into Crusher Stampede, Custodes, and Harlequins. The 3 of the best.
Literally the top lists all rely on army-wide 4-up invulns that you now ignore with your biggest guns.
And this list only needs 1 turn to go right. So
exactly, dude, you're spot on. Yeah, very well said. I don't get the Sky Rays. Could somebody explain to me why he's got 3 Sky Rays? Because I don't get that. I don't know why they're good. If they're good.
They definitely have play.
But nobody can tell me why they've got play.
So they do get the like the pretty heavy 1-shot missiles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's 3d3 per shot or something like that. It's like I think it does a ton of really good burst damage. So I really think that this list is trying to win the game in 2 turns.
It has a lot of a good big thing killing, elite killing, which a lot of the top armies are right now. And I think even with because he still has a crisis in there too. So even the few horde-ish armies that he might run into, he still has more than enough guns that are going to kill anything that's on the ground anyway.
It's Chat's helped me out. 1 plus D3 shots. Yeah, thank you for that.
There you go. I've just had a look at it now. Range 72, heavy D3 plus 1, strength 9 minus 3, 2 D3 damage. That looks like a good Void Weaver killing.
Yeah, that is perfect.
Yeah, and you can spend CP to shoot out a line of sight. In addition, it can pack some more SMS as well. So maybe it's just like a toughness 7 chassis. It's got 14 wounds, which is a lot. Just a toughness 7 chassis that'll every turn he'll pop 1 out and try and dunk, and the other 2 probably sit back and just shoot SMS.
Those are on fat profiles too. If I had to guess, there's a lot of charge blocking on the Storm Surge to let nothing get to it.
That's true. That's a good point.
You know, I think this is more a strategy of how to protect a section of the board with some of these bodies, like using the physics of the game. And Gagne is a very capable player, and I have to believe that tactic is on his mind.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I really like this list. I hope it does very well for him because I'm excited to just see some new Tau archetypes that aren't just min-maxing crisis teams, or broadsides. So I think this is a cool list, and I hope it does well. Over to our next one. We have one of the finalists from the most recent LVO, Matt Laura, who switched over from Custodes to playing Eldar, which I think he told me he was going to be doing that as soon as that book came out. So he's kept true to his word. Now, I'll say straight up, I love this list. I love this list because this is everything me as a little boy wanted to run when I thought about an Eldar list. This is Craftworld Eldar is Ulthway, a double patrol. Eldrad, a Farseer, 2x5 Rangers, 10 Dire Avengers, 5 Fire Dragons, a Warlock Skyrunner, 2x6 Warp Spiders, 2 Wave Serpents into the next patrol. Baharoth, 5 Rangers, 5 Howling Banshees, 5 Striking Scorpions, 3 Shining Spears, 10 Swooping Hawks. He has just taken one of everything with the exception of 2 units of Warp Spiders. This just makes me happy. It's happy that I'm just happy this is a good list.
Yeah, it's got everything. Eldrad, I hate to say it, but he really is almost like an autumn include. You have to really ask yourself, why am I not taking all the way?
Yeah.
And then when you're taking Eldrad, why am I not taking Eldrad?
Yeah.
When you're building your list. Now, as coming
Baharoth is
from a
also an
Beltane
auto
player,
What did you say,
you know,
Dustin?
I'd say just Baharoth is also an auto include, like no matter what you're playing.
So literally,
He's-
Baharoth is
theming wise, he can fit in everything.
Oh yeah, theming wise, yes, that's true.
Baharoth is the best single model in the game, and I never thought I'd say that as long as Trajan Valoris was 160 points. But Baharoth is better than Trajan.
That is a big deal.
Chat, let him know how if you agree with that.
Yeah,
it's crazy that anything could be better than 160 point Trajan, like anything. And Baharoth pips him. Like it's not a huge difference, but Baharoth is better because
I want to disagree with you so badly right now. I can't, but I want to.
Look into your heart. You will see that I'm right.
Oh, you are right, and I hate that you're right.
I just noticed that Adam's in my house.
Yeah, I've infiltrated.
Stole your chair too.
Well, you know, you got to sit in the big boy chair when Paul's not around because you know it's the big void. But yeah, I really like this list. It's got a little bit of everything, and I love that about Eldar lists at the moment that they're so deep. You can just take like one of every. And what a juxtaposition, yeah! Because the only prior to this in 8th edition, end of 8th edition, most of 9th edition, the only aspect warriors that you see in every list were Reapers, and they're the only aspect warrior that is not in this list.
Oh, that's an interesting point.
Yeah.
And then with the 3 Shining Spears, is that enough for this disruption? You know,
Yeah.
Could there be a case for some other aspect warriors in here instead of those?
Yeah, I'm making I've been talking to people about the Shining Spears because you're really taking it because essentially your Shining Spear Exarch is like an Autarch. Yeah. He's a baller. He's an absolute baller. Should you just take an Exarch? If you have a free HQ's choice, just take an Exarch instead. Because you can make him, well, if you're willing to spend the CP.
The Autarch, you mean? Take an Autarch.
Yeah. So apologies. The words are too similar for my feeble brain. But yeah, exactly right. Because some people have been saying that Exarch has been underperforming because he just explodes as soon as you look at him because you can't bodyguard him, can't look at Sir. So I'm like, well, just take a Killy Autarch if you got that problem. But yeah, I still really like the list. I think Matt's going to do extremely well. And yeah, jumping down to our last list. So sometimes, like I said, we will pull out 2 phenomenal listings that we really want to talk about and unpack, and then we'll pull out a meme list because it's mad. Now, this is Raymond Ortman. He's playing pure Militarum Tempestus. He has a Lambdom Lions battalion, and this is just Chad mode 101%. I love it.
What does that do?
The Lambdom Lions is the extra rend. So all these hot shots will go from Rend 2 to Rend 3. Now, that's in my mind, that Rend is a little bit wasted unless you're trying to specifically contend with things like 2+ armor save crisis suits from Iridiums or Custodes, in which case they get a lot of value. But it also, they have I can't remember if it's a Relic or a Warlord trait. It's got a Relic or a Warlord trait that gives an aura of real ones, like a Captain's aura, and another one that gives a 5-up invulnerable save aura. And both of those are very key for what we're about to unpack. He has, like I said, a battalion. He's got an Inquisitor, because why not? There's a bunch of very good psychic. 3 Tempesta Primes, 6 units of 10 Scions, 2 squads have max Melter, 2 squads have max Plasma, 2 squads have max Hotshot Volley Guns. Then he has 4 command squads, all with Plasma, and 4 Taurox Primes. That's the list.
I like actually all that. The Taurox has always been almost like a sleeper unit, if you ask me. Taurox Prime, especially also. It's if someone showed up with all Tauroxes and all Taurox Primes, they'd probably win more games than they lost.
There have been times where that list would have done extremely well. It was interesting to note that these Taurox Primes have missiles and autocannons, which I thought was a bit Well, it's not what I would have done, to say it lightly. I actually quite like for Land and Lions. I don't like the missiles because it's just too many points. I like the Gatling and the autocannons because it gives you a nice duality. And the autocannons go to Rend 2, so there's four shots, strength 7 -2, 2 damage. I quite like that a lot. But having 20 shots at strength 4 -1 from the Gatling and then put a Storm Bolter for another 4 feels good into almost every target. Even when you're shooting tanks, as long as they're not toughness 8, still feels pretty good because you'll get 2 or 3 wounds through every time.
I guess with the -1 damage on a lot of things, the 2 damage weapons necessarily start to
True.
lose a little, just to depreciate a bit
That's
on the
exactly
body
right.
of the tank. Yeah.
Dustin, you've been a bit quiet. How do you feel about this?
I love it because it feels very. It's similar to kind of the style that you have to play with GSC right now in terms of Torx Primes being Goliaths and then a bunch of
Yeah.
neophytes and with shooting guns in there. Like I actually love that. It plays a lot better than a lot of people think because it has a lot of obsec and it's obsec that's protected, that can be protected in boxes. It's obsec that can deep strike because they're scions. It's
Yep.
actually really mobile and does a lot of damage, surprisingly.
That's the thing. Like that's the thing about guard in general. People are just like, you just touch them and they die, or you
Yeah,
just look at them and they die. But they still slap. Their damage
they
output
do.
is still very respectable. And there's a bunch of applicable buffs here, especially with orders going to an aura. If you're playing, if this list plays against Crusher Stampede, just one Tempesta jumps down, gives the order for full rerolls to wound against monsters, and you will just do a lot of work. Even with the hotshot volley guns, you will just do a lot of work.
Oh, exactly.
The
I feel
reason,
like people going into that will be like, it's just 10 passes. I can just rush this. And
yeah,
then they die because
yes,
you
exactly
underestimate
right.
it.
Man, this guy has to know his stuff because there's like less than 100 wounds on the table, and at the average toughness 3.5. So
Yes.
They have a 5-up invuln, Paul.
In one bubble of 6 inches, they will have a 5-up invuln.
no, this I like the list. I mean, there's lots of method to the madness here. I do appreciate it, but you absolutely, if you're taking a list like this, you have to be hyper focused on the scoreboard. You have to. I don't want to
Mhm.
say not be interactive because you've really got to focus and remove power pieces from your opponent's army. But you absolutely paramount have to be. You cannot be careless with the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Everything that you do has to be focused on how to max out what your possible points are that round.
And in addition to that, you need to pick your secondaries absolutely perfectly every game. You can't mess up and get a 5 when you need to get a 12, you know?
But
You got to
but I
pick
like this.
right.
I like playing with a little bit of uncertainty. I don't say uncertainty, but thrill. You know, a little when
Yeah.
you know that you've got your work cut out for you in most games. I like it.
All right, time to move on.
Well, let's talk about what's going to take it. So, this is now with 16 Tau
Hmm.
and with a player like Andrew Gagno playing Tau, I think it's easy to pick that faction. But what do y'all think's going to take it?
So don't do it.
So let's not pick
N-
Tau.
So we're not
Yeah.
going to pick Tau because that's the obvious choice to lean into right now is what you're saying is good, which is true
Well,
with Ganyu
that
playing. And
is
six,
if
it
you were to
is
look at odds,
odd.
and
Yeah.
Yeah.
when we
Just
with
like
the information that we have, but
Mhm.
let's think past that, and we're picking
look
factions now, not necessarily
look
players.
deeper.
Look
Um
deeper.
7 nids I like seeing 7 nids. Apart from Gonyo's matchup into Crusher, there are a lot of Tau lists that don't love playing Crusher, especially Crusher goes first on like Dawn of War. They can get all up in your grill immediately and cause some disruption. So I'm gonna pick nids. Let's do it.
I'm gonna go with the Suryani.
Yeah. Is it because I picked your faction? I got in first.
You got in first.
You just
Yeah.
don't. I'm going Harlequins. I think the finals will most likely be. Um, I think the Tau will be up there because it will be impossible for every army to deal with that level of shooting aggression they have. Depending on terrain, there's a lot of factors. Are they using player place terrain? There's
Mhm.
so many things that contribute
So the
to
general,
Tau.
so the TO in the chat did mention they're using player placed at this event, which I think
Yes.
I look at Gonyo's list on player place. I'm like, just got so much better. Just got so much better.
Yeah.
You're gonna hide either all 3 hammerheads or all 3 sky rays turn 1 every game, whichever one you need more, and that's just such a weight off your
Yeah.
back. But yeah, jump in. What do we think about the next event, boys?
Yeah, so let's talk about it. So the next event we're talking about is the Warhound at Game Grid in April Grand Tournament, Lehigh, Utah, also here in the U.S. Uh, still Burrito Day.
Still Burrito Day.
51
Okay.
players, 6-round event.
So It's an interesting thing to note that this has got 51 players and is still 6 rounds, as in if you're going to go undefeated, you have to go through a couple of different contenders before you get to go at the end. Because it naturally goes 50 to 25-ish to 13 or 12 to etc. etc. It's going to be a couple of rounds. Like the winner could have taken a loss in this event.
I like this 6 round format. I mean, it's going to be the second day is probably going to feel a little bit longer, but let's remember that for some folks, these are the 6 games they're going to get this month, or maybe even this quarter.
Yeah.
So I like it that they've extended that. One of those things, obviously, paying attention to what their local meta is and what their players want. So shout out to Game Grid. What are we going to see there, Dustin?
Let's go over the quick and dirty stats here then with this another Burrito Day tournament.
Well, today this is Thursday. This is Burrito Day. I don't know what it is on Saturday.
Okay, well, maybe it's still Burrito Day. Maybe it's Burrito Week. All right, Burrito Weekend. Hey, if there was a Burrito Day during the week of a tournament, I would make that Burrito Weekend. That's everybody's got to eat burrito. Actually, no, that's a bad idea. Nobody do that, please. That would
Nobody do that.
Terrible idea.
Day 2 of that tournament.
Day 2 of that tournament would be hellish for everybody involved. So the Imperial Superfaction, there is 1 Imperium, which is AdMech in Imperial Knight this time. That's a kind of a callback there. 5 Custodes, 2 AdMech, 3 Astra Militarum, 1 Grey Knight, and 2 Imperial Knights. The Space Marine Superfaction, there's 1 Dark Angel, 4 Space Wolves, 2 Black Templar, 1 Iron Hands. Chaos Superfaction, there's 1 Chaos Soup, 1 Chaos Space Marine, 2 T-Suns, 1 Death Guard. Xenos Superfaction, there's 2 Necrons, 5 Orcs, 2 Tau. Hive Mind Superfaction, 2 Tyranids. That's it. The Eldari Superfaction, 1 Eldari, 2 Drakari, 2 Harlequins, 4 Asuryani. This is a fantastic spread.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Agreed.
The faction podium there is Custodes and Orcs at the top with 5. Then Asuryani and Space Wolves with 4.
What year is it?
Astra freaking Militarum in 3rd. That is phenomenal. This is going to be an amazing tournament as long as everybody doesn't eat burritos all of day long.
But yeah, the spread on this tournament is incredible. I want to play in this tournament. Why?
This is amazing.
I want to know why people are playing guard again. I cannot. There is no
what's going
meta,
on?
There is no meta reason to play guard. In fact, there's every meta reason not to play guard at the moment, and yet there's guard. Like I'm making podiums again. Last week was the same. We had more guard than we'd seen previously. And just what the crap is going on?
Because Harlequins are everywhere, and everybody's like, "Oh, I hate hitting on 4s." And Astra Militarum players like, you know what? I'm used to it. Let's go.
Whatever, bro.
Give me some D4 pluses on my number of shots, and it's
it's fine. This is fine. Like
this is fine.
Funny as hell.
What are you guys complaining about?
But yeah, this spread is incredible. I love seeing this. It's got everything. 4 Space Wolves as well. I mean, what the?
4 Space Wolves.
Why Space Wolves?
We've been seeing it. Talking about Space Wolves. Space Wolves have a lot of tricks. They get a lot of things that help them move across the table, and once they get there, they really do tear you up. So it's not and we've seen them do really well in every tournament we've seen players attend with Space Wolves en masse. But let's talk about some of the players we have highlighted. We got Mr. Rich Kilton here in attendance. Always fun to see at events. Fun to see what he comes up with list wise. I don't think this is going to be any exception.
The kill tank himself, Richard Kilton, the old war boss, as some people like to call him. He is playing orcs, of course. He doesn't play anything else, as far as I know. He's playing a Death Skulls battalion / patrol. So Death Skulls is a bit by the wayside as far as orcs are concerned. Usually we see either Goths or Evil Sons, sometimes freebooters still, if you're going to go for that Speed Freaks list. You can divide that either by Evil Sons or Freebooters, but usually we're seeing Goths more often than not. He starts off with a Big Mech in Mega Armor War Boss, a Weird Boy, 2x10 Beast Snagger Boys, 10 Truck Boys, 2x5 Mega Knobs, 5 Storm Boys, a Battle Wagon, 2 single mech guns, 2 trucks, and then another War Boss in his next patrol. 10 boys, 2 to 5 commandos, and 1 rocket truck with nitro squigs. I actually really like this list.
What were the mech
first.
guns?
I can't remember. If I have to guess, it'd be Mega Cannons, because that's easily the best one. But this is just I've been expecting to see this list for a while, and we kind of got it for a small time. Prior to LVO, there was an orc list that we saw, because there was an all aggro orc list, and then there was the freebooters orc list, the speed freaks, and then there was kind of this tweener MSU build. and I think this is almost its final form. There is so much quick MSU OBSEC in this army that can still slap because it's orcs, that I think this is just a good list all the time.
When you say there was the time that you kind of thought this was going to come about, like, is that it? Just because there's so much objective secured and the fact that they're fast moving,
Mm.
like there's most things in here either have a transport or they can move 12 or something like that. Like, what's attracting you to it?
So you've got 2 units of your training commandos. You got 665 storm boys to make sure you get rod every game. In addition to having 2 units of meganorms, which are probably the best thing in the book at the moment, having a battle wagon to sling them around, or trucks if you want to break them up. It's got flexibility. It's got it's got the right amount of aggression while still having the scoring ability that I really like to see orc lists take. It seems to me to just be an orc list built to go and get points. Like, it's just built to get a good score and then slaps by default because it's still just orcs. So I love it. Also, to furthermore, death skulls have the 5+ feel no pain against mortals, and mortal wounds are only on the rise in the game. So I think people should revisit their death skulls list and have another look.
On the rise. I don't know what you're talking about, Tyranids.
Yeah,
Me. Something in my
never
throat.
never heard of them.
You bring
Well,
up a
dude,
good point though with
hmm,
the ability to get the R&D, the Notman data pretty much consistently every single
hmm,
turn. So going to be putting up points, giving no relief to your opponent in every single
yeah.
game with the unit choices.
Yeah, I really like this list. There's a couple of things in here that I'm not 100% on, but Rich knows his stuff. He'll definitely better than me, and he's got his finger on the pulse. Things like the Weird Boy. I'm not quite sure what the plan is there, but is it just for to jump?
The jump, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, like, is
yeah,
that really a question? Come on.
yeah. I mean, but what is the jump doing for you these days? It hasn't
Jumping
done
you.
nothing for me lately. But
That
anyway,
it's
I
it's it's
wanted.
in the name.
I yeah, but it's you can't to jump and do many actions. You just got to be to jumping and going for
You
a
need to jump
charge.
and crump stuff. That's the whole point of the
Jump,
jump.
jump and crop.
You
Fair
the
enough.
jump the
Jump
mech
and crump.
guns into line of sight. Uh,
It's true.
I don't
I've
think you
seen people
can.
do that. Yeah, yeah. I think you can. I think you can to jump,
Really? I
unless
thought it
they've
was just
changed
like
it to.
core infantry.
Maybe they've changed it to infantry in the
it's
latest
just
book. But
core
I saw
infantry. I
in
was
the
just saying
previous
something silly.
in the
I
I
previous
mean, it
apologize.
made
book,
sense. It was a good
people.
strategy. I just
This
Yeah,
is-
people.
it would definitely be a good strategy.
Um, all right, so going into the next gentleman who's so we had 4 Spaceful players, so I needed to look and see why and what was the Spaceful players doing. This is Josh Greensman's list. This is a great example of Marines being between a rock and a hard place. What do you do when you're playing Marines at the moment?
Yep.
Turns out you just bring stuff. You bring as much stuff as you can. That's good for the points. He's got Spaceful Successors, which is Born Heroes and Whirlwinds of Rage. He's got a single battalion. He's got a Captain on black. He's got Primorized Chappie on black. 5 units of 5 Blood Claws. 2 units of 5 Wolfguard with jump packs, 3 units of 5 Wolfguard Terminators, and 3 units of 5 Sky Claws. So
I
he
heard you
is
like MSU, bruh.
he is MSU'd at the
The Terminators
wazoo.
are an interesting choice.
Mm. Yeah. The Terminators are a very, very good choice. So yeah, there's 2 units of Wolfguard with jump packs, and then 3 units of Wolfguard Termies. Pretty much all of them have lightning claws and storm shields, which I don't personally think is the best way to kind of go without getting rerolls against Custodes and things. But hey, he must note his meta because there's not that many Custodes. There's like only 10%, and usually they're
Oh, that's
sitting
all great into
around.
orcs. He's obviously
Oh,
planning
amazing!
on facing Kilton in the last round.
That's true.
Mhm.
Exactly right. Do you guys know the light Sidath? Does that work in combat?
What do you mean the lights at the?
As in you only hit on 4s?
That's you have to be
Only
outside of 12
outside of
Yeah, so
12. Yeah,
it
yeah.
doesn't work in combat, yeah.
No.
Because I was looking at the Space Wolves kind of successor build where you get all the exploding sixes and stuff, and it just means if you make combat with things like Void Weavers, you just kill them. Even five Blood Claws will just double exploding sixes will just pop Void Weavers. They will just get enough oomph through. So yeah, I look, I'm not going to tell you if you're a Marine player to go and play Space Wolf successors, but there are a lot worse choices to be doing
Yeah.
it. And if you're just playing a crazy MSU build, which is what this gentleman is doing, even if you lose, you're going to get a good score.
Kr Quinn says this list just dies to Custodes. That's
It's true.
bold.
It's true. But that is the kind of journey for most Marine players at the moment. There is
Yeah,
this
I mean,
golden ceiling kind of just holding you down.
What is the strategy there, though? If you come up against something, you feel like you're outlist. What do you do with, let's say, you've brought a knife to a gunfight. You've brought a lightning claw to an auric weapon fight.
For me, it's only give his good shooting options, blood claws to fight, and every single one of your storm shields stays in cover, because the shooting on Custodians does not dig storm shields out of cover very well. It's all around one, or even if they've got a Caladius, you're still going to get the 4-up invuln or do whatever you want there. Having a 0-up save on a couple of dudes on Termies in cover means you're actually just very good at holding backfield objectives. They don't have shooting weapons on these guys; they're all lightning claws and storm shields. Just means you just try and exist. Just try and exist and just get a good scoreboard. There's unfortunately, you're just never going to win the primary versus Custodes playing MSU Marines, because their 3 guys count as 6. Your 5 guys count as 5. There is a disparity there that you will not win the exchange rate on. So what you've got to do is you've got to pick your secondaries perfect and make sure you max the crap out of them.
Yeah. I think if you
Dustin,
can arrange some situations too to where they aren't able to bring more than one unit, or a unit they've split, maybe not, sometimes even one model into combat. So if you're using the rules for terrain, make sure you're trying to maximize that and make it more difficult for them. Use your movement.
Yeah, and literally
Yeah.
Custodes are why I'm snapping off on my lightning claws. They just don't do a damn thing into Custodes. But Dustin, what are your thoughts on that?
There are 2 ways to play a list that when you know you're outlisted. It's either you try to get an early lead on all the points and hope that your opponent won't be able to take you off the objectives or get back the points that you've already gained an advantage on. This is not what the list that does that one. This one does the second option better. This one is you play conservative, use your resources better than your opponent. And I'm assuming you'll have like Armor of Rust in there, the one that makes like great fight last.
Fight last, yeah.
So
Helm of Rust, Armor of Rust,
Helm
something like that.
Helm of Rust, whatever the one that makes
it's
you
one of
fight
those
last.
things.
It's one of those things. I know it's in there, and Wolf Priest Kyle isn't here to tell me exactly what it is. So, and whether there's 4 space wolves, what the heck? But things like that are what make MSU builds like this work, because you can combine arms, all your different little MSU units. If they're not fighting you until all your guys fight, it means if you keep yourself in a position to get at least double your primary, like you're not going to get the 12. That's just what it is. But you can use your resources better to gain the advantage later game. So make sure you get, because they have to commit to you to stop you from getting your points if they want to actually get an advantage later on. And you can use your resources better to make sure that you cut theirs down without losing too many of yours. And you'll still have more than them to get your points in a later game. And I think this is the kind of list that can do that.
There's a concept or a new buzzword being thrown around in 40k that really has not really been a thing up until 9th edition. It's called tempo. Trying to out tempo your opponent, as in, and that's exactly, it leads to exactly what Dustin said, as resource management, managing your resources better than your opponent, thereby controlling the tempo and ebb and flow of the scoreboard, which is what you want to have control over. You can lose control of the game, the matchup, the social discourse. If you control the scoreboard, you control the game. So you control the end result. And so by managing the tempo, as in like managing the interplay between Stranglehold, I'm going to get Stranglehold 4 turns. I'm going to make sure they get 3 turns. They're going to get 3 on Rod. Well, I'm going to make sure they don't get 4 on Rod. Things like that. Just manage that tempo of the exchange. And this is a great list for doing that, like you said.
Yeah. It's a game of resource management. That's what 40k is at its heart, right? It's about a lot of resource management, and something that a lot of people ask me about too, because they see the list that I run. I run triple patrol a lot of the time, or 2 patrol and an auxiliary to have my 3 characters. But it's, people are like, oh well, but you lose your 2 CP. Don't you find you need that CP? It's like, if you're losing games because you didn't have 2 more CP, you're not using your CP right. Resource management, boys.
Thus, savage.
Right. Come on.
I like that.
Last list, and in fashion, it's a bit of a meme, this one, and I'm a fan because he's just gonna win games. Like, people talk about that one guy at the tournament who takes a single Warhound Titan. This is the equivalent, but it's actually good. So this gentleman's name is Matt Evans. He's playing Tyranids, High Fleet Leviathan, Crusher Stampede, of course. He's got a battalion and a super heavy auxiliary. Now, when people hear that, they're like, Trogdor's rocking up, or what's it called? What's the flappy fly bird? What's the dragon?
Herodin?
They think Heridian, but it's not.
Herodin, not Heridian. Come on.
Whatever.
We just said it.
He's got a Hive Tyrant, a Neurothrope. He's got the Swarm Lord, 3x3 warriors, 5 Venom Thropes for some reason, a single Carnifex, a single Tyrannifex, and a Hierophant. Or Hierophant.
Hierophant.
What do you want, Dustin?
Hierophant.
Hierophant. Hierophant, whatever.
Hierophant.
Y'all doing
Tomato,
great.
tomato. I don't give a crap. Big spider crab boy. And this guy is a savage. For those who don't know this data sheet, it is crazy. 850 points of possibly the sleeper super heavy in the game. Web skill, bliss skill 3+, strength and toughness 8, 34 wounds, 6 attacks, 2+ armor save. But here's the thing, yeah, it does all this crazy shooting, all the DACA, it's got a nice flamer, shoots strength 10 -3 damage, guns, really good in combat. There's one keyword that it has, and I cannot explain to you why it has the fly keyword, but it does, and it's the thing that makes this thing work.
It
Being able to
jumps. It's one of those jumping cave cricket
It
things.
leaps.
It
That's
means
exactly what
that
it
it
is.
can
A giant
swarm
cave
lord.
cricket.
It can swarm lord itself very well, and actually gets to engage with terrain because it's such a big footprint that if you just like deployed a ruin in front of it, it could like almost never get over it around it with the 10-inch move because it's so long. It is a long spidery boy. Dustin, this is your wheelhouse. Give us the 411.
Well, I want to go on record saying I love this list for one thing, and I love the Hierophant, but I find it very hard to use a Hierophant, especially if you're playing like player plays terrain. Your opponent can play their terrain, so your Hierophant will never get into their table. I don't think people realize how big this thing is.
It is
huge.
It is massive, like absolutely massive, and I love it. And if it could interact with terrain, the fact that it has fly makes it actually playable. Like in a list like this, it means you can actually use it. Because if it didn't, it wouldn't do anything, and it would be very sad. But this is also the thing that used to be like 2,000 points. Remember, it used to be an army. It was
really
an army.
did. It used to spawn warriors as well, or am I thinking about something else? It
No,
has a transport capacity.
That's a transport capacity.
Right? Yeah, of 20. I'm thinking of the Hive Queen or whatever it is. In Titanicus, but it's got a 5+ invulnerable save. Like I said, 2+ save, 34 wounds. When you can give it a 4+ invulnerable save because of Leviathan and Crush Stampede, it's a -1 damage. It can essentially overcharge itself like Dark Technomancer. It takes D3 mortal wounds, gets +1 to wound on all its guns. Its flamer is assault 2d6, range 12, strength 7 -3, 1 damage. It's got 2 biocannons. Yeah, so it's got 16 shots at strength 10 -3, 3 that can have +1 to wound. It's a really well-rounded, like it feels like a Castellan from range. It slaps like a Gallant or like a full Death Star in combat. It's actually really good. The only issue is, can you play it in Dawn of War? Can you use it turn 1 in Dawn of War? Questions? TO rulings?
No.
The answer
is generally no, because it's actually longer than 10 inches long. I think
it's longer than 10 inches long.
If it's actually modeled like the way the real model, I think is like 12 by 12. I think is the actual. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, because it's
It's a huge footprint as well. It's got a bunch of designer notes on it telling you how to play it because it doesn't have a base. Because if you had to put a base on it, it would be like a whole table quarter, and that would just get really obnoxious.
It's one of the tiles. You know,
just pick it up on the tile. Just
now it's this quarter.
Now it's this quarter. Yeah, it's quite an amazing thing. I hope Matt has a lot of fun.
It's fantastic. I would love to see that on a table. That's amazing.
It just looks. It's the coolest looking thing ever.
We got some picks in the chat for Matt to take the whole tournament. Do you guys got a pick?
I'm going with him. Stuff it.
Hey, he's brought the Hierophant, man. He's hero.
Look, I'm going out on a limb, a little more of a riskier pick. I'm saying this is the Black Templar's time to shine. So
wow,
they do really well into squishy troops. And so I know they're going to have to fight through the orcs. I know they're going to have to fight through a lot of the other things here. I'm going with Black Templar.
I like that pick. I hope you're right. It's been a long time between drinks since we've seen Templars kicking it at the top tables.
I'd like to see
it. Any picks? Any disputes on that?
Oh no, Matt, go on the high.
We can't go against Black Templar.
Nah.
That's
It
was a little random. I'm not gonna lie, but I like your reasoning for it.
I'm going for the spider crab. I'm going
for the spider crab.
Let's do it. Well, look, let's take a quick break for a word from our sponsor. Then we'll come back and we'll talk about the Coventry Team tournament in England.
At Frontline Gaming, we make the best tabletop gaming mats in the universe. Our mats are durable, rollable, foldable, wipeable, and storable. Oh, and they look damn great too. Join the thousands of tournament regulars and garage gamers who use our mats to bring their gaming surfaces to life. To ensure quality, Frontline gaming mats are custom made one at a time, printed with high quality ink. Our immersive designs stay crisp and are available in a wide range of styles and sizes. So whether you're playing a war game or skirmish game, whether you're fighting over an alien tundra, fantastical forest, or real-world setting, there's a great-looking battlefield for you. Our gaming mats are printed on extremely durable neoprene backing, so they won't slide around the table, and they're thick enough to stay flat, protecting what's underneath and allowing for slight uneven surfaces. We know from experience that an easily portable gaming surface is just better. Every mat comes with a sturdy nylon zip-up bag for storage and transportation. Whether your next battle is in your home or at the local game store, you'll be able to unroll your FLG mat and get gaming right away. Our products are all made and tested by passionate gamers at Frontline Gaming HQ right here in the USA. It's time to take your battlefield to a new level. Frontline Gaming, champions of tabletop.
And we are back. Please check out the sponsors. You saw how sweet that table and the mat were. So, you want to get one.
Some fine products.
You wanna.
So we're going to talk about the Coventry Team Tournament in Coventry, England, which I understand is 475 miles away from
London?
Paris.
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 Well.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Tune in next week for more pointless statistics and but how
130 players, 26 teams. I think they're doing teams of 5. It's a 6-round event. So when we go down maybe before we go down the factions, Adam, can you tell us about how the teams are constructed?
I'm pretty sure this is along WTC guidelines, so each faction can only be taken once, and there should be multiple different densities of table. I'm not sure if they're using the WTC terrain layout, but there should be variants of light, medium, and dense or heavy tables for you to be matched upon. So there's some gradient of matchmaking there. So, if you match up in a very negative so we traditionally call it a red matchup, as in you're not expected to win, you're expected to get stomped. You can mitigate that by playing on a disadvantaged table for your opponent. Like if they're Tau playing against Marines. Tau's got no chance of just not ruffle stomping all over the Marines. So the Marines pick a dense table and hope just they to sit back and get some points. And so you got some interplay there.
I have another pointless stat to introduce.
Oh, okay, here we go.
To the squad here. Coventry is 403 miles away from Paris.
Yikes.
I almost nailed it.
That was.
Oh, wait, you
didn't actually look it up before?
Yes?
I just looked it up while you were giving the description.
What
the crap? You almost.
We thought you actually looked it up when you said that. You were just pulling it out of your butt, and okay, wow, that's impressive, Paul. Well
that's
done.
Pretty good.
Well done.
All right, we'll make that into a segment. Paul picks a distance. Yeah.
I know no one needed to know that, but I thought I was actually trying to be ridiculous. Turns out we were pretty close. So it's which is actually like the theme for most of the shows.
That's true.
Yeah, you played.
You were probably more accurate than Google Maps is a lot of the time, so that was actually pretty impressive.
Well, let's run down what we're going to see here.
All right. So again, with 26 teams, that means you can only ever see at most 26 of any faction
of anything,
right?
Yeah,
of anything. So anything close to 26 means that's almost every team's bringing it.
Anything above 15, anything above 12 or 13, as in more than half the teams, is a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So Imperial Super Faction, there are 4 Imperium, 3 Sisters, 18 Custodes. That's no real surprise. That means almost every single team aside from 8 have taken Custodes. 0 AdMech. 0 AdMech.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a misstep, especially in a team tournament. I really think that's a...
I'm just kind of feeling like AdMech plays like Henshaw. There's none around.
AdMech is a good team army to have, but when it's only teams of 5, it's hard to fit an AdMech team.
Yeah, good point. Yeah,
and
teams I feel 8, like absolutely.
I feel like AdMech's the best faction no one's playing.
Yeah, Yeah. Well, in this event, yes, absolutely.
This week as well. Past week, probably next week.
That's true.
You know,
that's true. 4 Astromilitaire. There's more Astromilitaire in the
I know.
Admech. Oh my
What the
god.
crap.
Okay, everything I just said. Yeah. Okay. Foot and mouth. 5 Great Knights, 6 Imperial Knights, which are a good team event.
Amazing,
believe
yeah.
it or not. Space Marine Superfection, 2 Dark Angels, 2 Space Wolves, 2 Blood Angels, 1 Salamander, 2 Raven Guard, 1 Imperial Fist, and 1 Iron Hand. So 11 of the teams have brought a Space Marine. Not too surprising. It's a well-rounded army that everybody owns, basically. Chaos Superfection, there are 2 Chaos Soup, 2 Chaos Space Marines, 5 T-Suns, 3 Death Guard, 3 Demons, 3 Renegade Knights. It's a good spread of chaos in here.
Mhm.
Xeno Superfection, there are 9 Necrons, which doesn't surprise me, actually. Necrons have a really good team event army. Like, they're really good at team events.
100% agree.
Yeah. 8 Orcs, 14 Tau. Once again, it's just one of the top armies. You bring it. And Hive Mind Superfaction, you're going to see another one here. 2 Hive Mind, 9 Tyranids.
Mhm.
I bet most of them, if not all of them, are Crusher. Because
Just about all of them are. I looked at a couple.
Yeah. Then 3 GSC. Those are my boys. I like the GSC there. I actually really like GSC for the team events. In the Eldari Superfaction, there are 3 Eldari, 7 Drukhari, 8 Harlequins, and 4 Asuriani. So again, because Eldari and Harlequins take up the same codex, it means 11, 15 of those.
Yeah.
15
from the
people
one
have
book.
taken. Have one book. The Drukhari is still separate, I'm assuming, for this event too. That's what the general consensus is right now.
It's like 60% of the teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which again makes sense. So the faction podium there is Custodes, 18. There's that Cliff, and then Tau. So basically, most teams Custodes, Tau, and then Tyranids and or Necrons with 9 in third.
I think Tau is in a response to all the Harlequins being a thing. It's
really
Hmm.
the Borkon Tau. I can see being a response for sure.
100%. Well, I'm just going to say it. I think Tau is the best teams list in the game. Is the best teams faction in the game. Because as soon as you can not let because as soon as you have the power to not put Tau into Harlequins, essentially they're going to get you a massive score. They're just going to get you a big old fat score. Especially if you put them up. Like, because the way pairings go, there's called if you get put up to be paired, as in I place myself up and then my opponent gives me 2 options of lists. The one that gets put up gets to pick the table. So literally, Tau can just go and pick the light table, and if they go first, they can beat anybody. As long as it's not Harlequins, they can pretty much beat anybody in the game going first, especially on Dawn of War. And so they always have that X factor. But you see a lot of people taking knights, and some people skewing things like Astromilitaire list with a bunch of shadow swords for the same effect. You chuck them up, make it, and if they go first on the light table versus anybody, they've always got a chance. And so that really alters how your opponent can score, and pair. But one of the things I want to draw attention to is the kind of internal metagame of the defensive lists in this current environment. So traditionally, it's T-Suns, Dark Angels, Death Guard, Necrons, and a couple of other bits and pieces that people take as the defensive. I will not die, and I will not give my opponent a big score. And we've seen that fluctuate in which one was best, team event by team event. For the last couple, it's been almost unanimously Dark Angels. Dark Angels was the best version of that. Take as many determined as you can, chuck them on objectives. You're never going to get a huge loss. Even you're probably going to win a bunch as well. And now it's Necrons being taken as the predominant defensive faction, eclipsing Death Guard, eclipsing T-Suns as well. In fact, eclipsing all of the other 3 combined.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
And
no argument there. Necrons have definitely been on the rise.
Yeah, they have been. They with all their buffs and changes that they've gotten recently. It's not just the difference with Necrons between like Death Guard and Dark Angels though is that Necrons have that defensive play, but they can pivot to offensive play at the drop of a hat. So they can actually turn it on their head if they get an opportunity to, and that makes Necrons better in that matchup because it means if your coach comes over to you and tells you, "Hey, we need you to push for points," Necrons is like, "Sure, no problem." Yeah, Dark Angels like, exactly. Okay, well, I hope my advanced rolls are good the next 2 turns because I gotta get
yes, exactly right. Because they don't have they have no ability to pivot. Yeah, you can only be defensive. Exactly. Death Guard's quite similar. T-Suns is a little bit better, like with Cult of Duplicity, bit, you get a bit more flexibility, plus with the double move, etc. But the other big statement is Crusher Stampede, I think, is the best teams list in the game. As in, as soon as you take Crusher and you don't put it into Borkan Tau, you don't put it into Harlequins or some Custodes list. Most Custodes lists you're okay. They're just going to ruffle stomp. You see. Remember what I said before? You see people taking Knights in a lot of archetypes. You see people taking probably even Triple Storm Surges in this meta. And I feel like Crusher is the
Triple Storm Surge is a got to be a high team contender.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a juggernaut list, man. It's
Yeah.
so scary. I feel like Crusher's the best version of that kind of list in the meta at the moment, where it's just like, just keep it away from its boogeymen, and it just stomps. It just freaking stomps, and it's a big cog in the works. If you only have like one list of your 5s that's good into Crusher, the opponent just has so much agency in pairings.
Yep.
Just like, yeah, cool, I'm just going to hold up the Crusher list, so you can't use your best list into Crusher. That's also good into these ones, and I'm going to get these ones into really good pairings, whilst I wave the Crusher Stampede list in your face.
Yeah, the Crusher Stampede, I agree, is probably the best team list right now. It is
Yeah.
of exactly what you're saying. It is, you have to be ready to pair. You have to have 2 lists ready to pair into it, and you can still avoid those 2.
Exactly. And you have this duality on Crusher Stampede as well. It has no right to be good at scoring primary points. It has zero right to be. And it's really good at the primary. If you need to play Crusher and play defensively, you can. It looks like a fully offensive list, but you could just be like, just going to put a bunch of toughness 8, like, 12, 14, 16 wound things, 18 wound things on objectives, and like, see this clock? You ain't got enough time to smash me. I'm just going to...
Good luck.
Yeah.
Speaking of clock, let's be mindful of it. And let's talk about some of the teams we're going to see here. Now we got a couple things we want to call out.
Exactly right. So I just pulled up. Firstly, I pulled up one team that I thought was the best team in attendance. That's Team England. That's like 5 of the national team players for Team England. So of course I wanted to see what they were doing. But then I just pulled out another team that I like the look of. So they're Cambridge Crusaders, and I thought they had
that's where I live.
Yeah,
it is just not London.
Just not London, yeah. Good old colonial Brits just naming everything after the same crap that they have back home. I'm sure Cambridge is lovely though.
Wow, yeah.
But anyway, so this lineup has Tau, Dark Angels, Custodes, Orcs, and Necrons. So I looked at those 5 factions and I was like, well, that just seems like a very good lineup for 5 lists, and I wanted to unpack what they had. First up, we have Alex Ayers, whatever. He's got playing a Farside Allied double patrol. He's got tunes to 5 crisis suits, tunes to 2 bodyguards, 3 broadsides, and MSU bits and pieces. This is the format you can expect from us when we do team breakdown. We ain't got the kind of time to type out this.
Ain't nobody got that time.
So I'm just trying to give you the archetype. The archetype here is kind of a min-max of bodyguards, 1 unit of broadsides, and then MSU with Crude Hounds, Crude, and some stealth suits. Then we have Kieran Pinney. He's playing exactly what you'd expect from a Dark Angels of Vanguard. It's all termies all the time. And exactly what we thought. It's just going to deploy and just try not to lose. Mehmet Gul comes in with a Custodes list. This is Emperor's Chosen Battalion. 2 Achilles Dreadnoughts and 3 into 3 Praetors make up this pretty much archetype, the core of the list. Then we have Andy Davidson playing Bad Moons Battalion. Pretty much MSU good stuff. It's just got a big unit of Def Copters, 2 medium units of War Bikes, 2 Def Dreads, 4 Killicans, and a Burner Bomber. A little bit to unpack there. I'm not quite sure what reason you'd have to take Bad Moons, but maybe this gentleman knows what's up. And then lastly, to round out this 5 list cohort, we have Necrons, and this is why I think Necrons are the bomb diggity. He's got Expansionists and Conquerors, 60 Necron Warriors, tunes to 6 Scorpex, and 15 Scarabs make up the meat and potatoes of that list. And that's a list that is just going to be around for 5 turns of the game.
I'm sorry, that guy's name is James Rayner? Jim Rayner?
Jim Rayner.
Are you kidding me? That team's going to win.
I hope so.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts. The Cambridge Crusaders, they're Cambridge. They have Jim Rayner on the team. They're just done.
It's your boys, Dustin. What do you think of this? What do you think of the 5 archetypes? What do you think of this team makeup?
I like every one. The Orc one confuses me a little bit. I like the archetype of the Bad Moons, a little confusing. But I like the Custodes. I love the Dark Angels, the Tau, the Necrons, and the archetype with the Orcs in there. I do like the dichotomy they have in their team. I do like it.
This is the first time I've seen Killicans in a list. I mean, that's
really,
it's not for nothing. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. What's his?
Mark Perry.
Thank you. Mark Perry's been running them.
Well, that's the thing though. If I ever see them, they're the archetype. There's 3 big units of them, or there's like 0. That's it. He's got 1 media. He's got one unit. The only one that seems off. It seems like I don't really get the archetype is Bad Moons, but that's because I just haven't seen Bad Moons that often. So there's probably some method to the madness there. But yeah, apart from that, I love every one of these lists.
Well, they're the ones. They're good at shooting, right? So like, everything here has some DACA. I mean,
it's true. That's true.
Like quality shooting. The Warbikes have the Def Dreads. Probably got to kit out with a bunch of guns. Killicans have a bunch of guns.
It's probably all there is to it.
Yeah,
But moving
makes
on
sense
to
to me.
the next team, this is Team England. 5 of the Team England players, the national team. So you can expect this to be essentially what these guys think are the 5 best lists in the game right now, and I can't disagree with their choices. Manny Chima heads up this one. He's playing Harlequins. It's exactly what you think. It's boring
Nice
as hell.
chuck.
Nine Void Weavers in a light battalion. We have Josh Roberts next, who's playing a Drakari Real Space Raid. 15 Grotesques, 15 Incubi, and then a hell of a lot of MSU. Min-maxing a lot of racks, so he's got 30 racks in 5-mans, all with a whip. He's got a couple of Venoms in there as well, and a quarter of the Archon and some other bits and pieces.
This is legitimately the list that everyone has forgotten about. Like,
That's
Yeah.
true.
actually
That's true.
forgotten about.
Yeah, and in teams, there's just so many reasons to revisit that book. Because once again, it's one of the perfect pivot teams. It's got great secondary choices. It can play all the board, and it can play well into just about every matchup. James Ramsey's next with Tau. He's got a Tau Sept, Supreme Command, and a Vanguard. Shadow Sun, a commander, a Deforcer commander. 3 units of 5 crisis suits, 1 unit of 2 bodyguards, and 3 broadsides. Pretty much makes up the entire core of that list. Mike Porter comes in next with Custodies, Empress Chosen Patrol, and an Outrider. This is an interesting list. I think this is an interesting take on Custodies, and it's one that you see you can really get a lot of different list archetypes going in teams, because I don't think this flies in singles, but in teams I think it's extremely good. He's got Inquisitor, Trajan, 3 Palace Grav tanks, and then the 3x3 Praetor bikes. Then he's got a bunch of small units, like he's got small a min squad of Wardens. He's got a single Alaris, 1 unit Sagittarian, 1 unit Guard. It's a good list. I like the Palace and the Praetors, because the Palace means you need speed. You need to play engage. You can just throw out little bits and pieces. You can tap a bunch of Tau units very quickly without using your Praetors. So I actually quite like that list. And then lastly, we have Matt Robinson playing Tyranids, Leviathan, Crusher, Stampede. It's a bit of a skew here because it's got 11 Hive Guard, 2 Flyer and Swarmy, like I said, a unit of 5, unit of 6 Hive Guard, and 2 Scythed Hero Duels. So yeah, what do you make of those?
Yeah, that makes sense. I won't be ruining too much by saying that that's basically what my team looks like when it's a 5-man team right now. The only difference is there's one of those is combined because there's a GSC in there.
Oh, there's a bit of a hive mind going on. What's interesting to know about this is, apart from the Harlequins, all of these are the top singles archetype with a tilt, with a little bit of X factor, especially the Crusher
That
Stampede.
typically does well. If you're coming to a team event and you don't know where to start, look at what is doing well in the singles, and then figure out how it can insulate you from bad matchups.
Yes, either that or tilt pairings in your favor. Like, we need to be strong. We're actually strong in the pairings versus this. Okay, I'll take 3 Palace Grav tanks, and that'll change that red to an orange and let us get a bit more freedom in the pairings. So yeah, the singles archetype with a tilt like 500 points of it to make it better in teams events, and usually that's where these sit, with the exception being generally what is ever the single best list in the game, in this case 9 Void Weavers, which doesn't need any enhancement. I mean, what are you going to do to make that better in teams? It's just the best thing in the game.
Every single one of us on this show loves team events, and if you're out there and you're curious about how to get into a team event, this is almost like an archetype to follow. Is that it's not as difficult. We talk about pairings and the strategy and the tables and everything else, but if you just build some solid list, come have fun with the win and lose with your buddies, and you're gonna have a great time. So,
oh yeah, absolutely, because you don't need to worry about all this stuff. You bring like 5 singles lists, don't worry about it. Just like, I want to play. Here we go. Here I'm down.
Fine. Yeah, it's fine.
I'm
There's
good.
no issue with that at all. So yeah, I think it'd be hard to bet against Team England because it's freaking Team England. But yeah, if James Rayner was to win, everyone would be really hard.
Jim Rayner and the Cambridge Crusaders, obviously. I'm sorry, Team England has no chance.
If he should have been playing Marines. If he was
playing Marines, this wouldn't even be a tournament. That would be
exactly right. He was playing Marines with just fire bats for aggressors.
It's okay. He's allied himself with the Protoss right now, the Necrons.
I'm gonna come out with a very American take right here. I mean, like, how many like long battles has England won? I don't.
Wow,
you're a savage. That's but yeah, that brings us to an end of the content for covering of the events of this week. It's going to be a good weekend. Like, I always love seeing a chunky team event, and I love covering the multiple different. I wish there was like another format so we could do like one singles format, one teams format,
that'd be fun.
like one other format. Maybe it's a doubles format every week.
Of course, I was just kidding. I do love the flexibility that the tournament organizers have, like to do this type of thing, where
Mhm.
team events are great, and there's team events all over the place, but they are a little bit more difficult to organize, especially when you have the different flow in the pairings, different types of tables. Sometimes you have to worry about, and then people's desire to coordinate with their teams. But it is completely worthwhile. But I love the flexibility that organizers have with creating events that they want to run. So, in the
Yeah.
spirit of what you're talking about with formats, uh, we would like to hear about alternate formats, tournaments out there. So if you are running one, we might not know about it. So hit us up on our various social media channels, and we may even come up with an email address where you can email into the show.
Yeah, I think that's something we're working on. We're working on a centralized email address. Like if you want to suggest, your local tournament, you want us to highlight it, want us to cover it on the show, you can send it in. Sell it to us, or not so much sell us, just give us a paragraph about what makes it special, what you're expecting to see, what's unique or cool about your meta, stuff like that.
Yeah, and then bonus points if you get everyone to list their factions when you put it in
Yeah,
PCP for us to
absolutely.
If
read it, and then we get.
better be ready to make them list all their factions
They
because
got
I
yeah.
I
There's no exception there. They all have to be there. Come
I
on.
have done that, by the way. When I've been picking the events, I'll have like one event that's got 45 players, one of them has got like 45 players, one of them has far more factions listed. I'm like, this is no decision. Bang, see you later.
There have been yeah, just help us out. Give us some meat here to chew on, and for folks to listen to. But yeah, let us know about your tournaments that are coming up. So now we're getting to a point in the show where we talk about things other than Warhammer 40,000, or tangentially, maybe next to, adjacent to Warhammer 40,000. It's a segment we call the Fuego Rapido. This one though is dedicated to, it's going to be what is it, the Leagues of Voltan dedicate
Oh,
theme.
jeez.
Yeah. So it's dwarf themed. This was sent in by a great friend and listener of the show, and we just have to roll with it.
We
Apologies if
give
they're cringe as
ourselves,
hell.
yeah, 2 minutes to talk about each topic here in a bit of a rapid fire segment. At the end of that 2 minutes, we stop and we move on. I think we have uh, the incorrect ones on the screen
Oh, those
right
are
now.
wrong.
Yeah,
Those are
that's
wrong.
last week's.
So
That's
I'm
last
going
week's
to, if
stuff.
while production maybe tries to catch up. These were listeners submitted, and so we're going to run down the topics here. First one is, what is the better Age of Sigmar faction? Fire Slayers or Caradron Overlords?
Okay, better faction or better dwarves? This is an important distinction, Paul.
Well, the
Because
question is dwarves, but in Sigmar, there it's a whole different, like they got a whole different thing. So I don't think there are actually dwarves, but in Sigmar.
see, okay,
But you
the
can answer however
Caradron.
you want. This is a hot take. You can answer,
My
your
hot
answer.
take is the overlords do not feel like dwarves. Why are they flying? Dwarves don't fly.
Because
What?
G-Dubs tried really hard to own their own IP, so they've flipped this.
Why? No,
Because
fire slayers are better dwarves. There's no contest there.
that's so one dwarf is like steampunk. Cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
steampunk's cool. That's cool. One dwarf is butt naked with a mohawk, wearing like a girdle.
They're berserkers.
Just
Come on.
win.
I can't argue with that.
That's
Fire
win.
Slayers
Like,
win.
My
there's
initial
no
gut though was
competition.
Caradron Overlords.
Okay, but why? Why do you think that?
I love that tinker aspect. I actually love the fact that they're on blimps with blunderbusses. Like, I don't even know how that would work. Like, how on earth are you going to be floating down in an iron balloon and then firing a gun that's as big as you are and still be on the same trajectory? I love the fact that in some universe that might be able to happen.
That would be cool if they had that. Like the turn you arrive
You
from
fire, you
reserve
just move
using
back.
it, and you move backwards. Like it's
You
fire
just-
and
you just
fade
get
effect.
back.
Whatever you
Yeah,
shoot, it's like a free fire and fade. That would make
you
them
move
broken.
directly backwards 6 inches from the position, the direction you fired. That's actually a cool mechanic. I'd love to see that stuff. That's fun.
I think
Yeah.
that makes it better. That'd make it more fun. The fire slayers,
So
they're dwarves.
we'll move on to the next topic here. What Snow White dwarf represents you? Dustin, we'll start with you.
I gotta remember them all.
I looked him up a minute ago. Grumpy, dopey, doc, happy, bashful, sneezy, and sleepy.
Ooh, dopey.
Nice.
I'm honest with myself.
I got to go with Grumpy before I've had breakfast. I get a little hangry.
A little hangry.
I'm gonna go bashful.
What?
I know, ironic. It's
What?
like calling
Just for the
myself.
cameras.
It's like calling myself Little John, in Robin Hood. He's actually a big dude. Yeah, bashful.
Nice.
Okay.
Here we go. If you could just magic up a rule mechanic for this brand new faction in Warhammer 40,000, what would it be? Adam, we'll start with you.
A new rules mechanic. So they look to be shooting based. I'd like to see them have not a second movement phase, but they have like their own little baby phase, like their own little like GSC has like Colt Ambush. It's kind of like another or arriving from blips. It's kind of its own phase within the game. Like they have a second deployment phase. I'd like to see something like that. Like they instead of like Eldar has battle focus, they have like a secondary move after they shoot. I'd like to see a similar one for them because I want them to have a really small movement characteristic like movement 4 instead of movement 6. But I want them to be able to make up with it by clever use of like a secondary trait, like they have another movement in the pilot or consolidation step.
Interesting.
Like a dwarf shuffle. They just dwarf shuffle about.
Dustin, you got any?
I'm reaching here. Run with me.
Wish list.
No.
Well, look.
I like because they're low to the ground. They're always I always see them as underdwellers kind of thing. So I like what the idea that Adam's going for. I think even just something similar, like if they're in cover, they just get +1 of their save because they're able to take cover a lot better.
Not
even +1 of their cover save, just +1 save, and they get the cover save still.
So back in the day,
you go.
So back in the day, they used to have these trikes, and there was a maneuver where you could spin out on the trike and throw a grenade as you were like doing a fishtail out.
Fanging it. So it's called fanging it, Paul.
Fanging it? Is that actually what it's called, or are you just making stuff up now too?
In Australia, no. You kick out the back of your car. It's fanging it, mate.
That's actually what it's called. You're not just
100%.
guessing that 453 miles away from
I don't know if we can say that on air. I don't know if we can. That's the end. Thankfully, we're at the end of that time. Favorite Gimli quote, and I will accept movie or book.
I have a couple.
I have a couple too. I have to think of one that.
If you got one right off the bat, go for it.
Still only counts as one.
Yeah, that's probably the best one. I always like the. Go ahead, Paul.
I'm going with toss me.
Gonna have to toss me.
Don't tell the elf.
Dustin. Don't tell the elf it's great. Actually,
don't tell the elf is good too.
We're
not sprinters. Very dangerous over short distances.
That was actually pretty good. That's a good impression. Yeah, not bad. I was gonna say she gave me 3. For the amount of hairs Galadriel gave him.
Was that's in the book?
That's in the book, right?
It's not in the movie.
I don't remember that in the movie.
You get a bonus point. We'll give. Look, we don't keep score for these, but you definitely get a bonus point for coming up with a book quote. Because I was trying to think of something that was.
Points don't matter.
Yeah. Might be in the extended edition. Yeah.
I don't think I've actually watched the full extended edition.
What
the? Richard, cut him off.
The full.
Pull the plug.
Listen. Nobody has that kind of time anymore.
You should absolutely watch all the extended. Make it a holiday tradition.
I will stream it on Twitch. I will watch you watching the extended editions.
That is messed up.
That is something have not explored, but I'm instantly intrigued when you mentioned it.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. This is one Thursday show. It's going to be a Saturday night. You can just tune into us watching the extended version.
Hours.
That would be a long Thursday. That would probably even if we started right at the strike of midnight.
Legit. Me and Paul stream for that long, so essentially it's the same thing, but we don't have to talk, so it's fine.
And we get to see you experience the. There we go. Well, we're at the end of that. So, is it spelled dwarves or dwarfs? This is a hotly debated topic.
Is it?
It has been.
Yes.
Well, we're gonna play it up for the drama.
Okay.
I always thought it was dwarves.
See, there you go. Dustin, what do you think?
I always thought it was dwarves too, because that's just feels like proper English to me. I guess because it's not.
Well, so
technically-
are you spelling it with a VES or an FS?
Which one is the one that will cause the most controversy?
Well, you just said you thought it was like Adam said he thought it was dwarves
Yeah,
I
with
thought
a
it was
V.
dwarves too. The V.
with a V.
Yeah, what do you think? Do you think it's? Do you
you're
think it's
both
with the F?
crazy. That's what I think. Yeah,
Really?
it's with the F.
How?
Well, it like I just looked it up. If the Warhammer Fantasy Codexes was the F,
Really?
DWARFS, yeah.
Snow
Dwarf-
White and the Seven
dwarfs?
Dwarfs is with an F. And I
Disney
believe, and I
doesn't
always
get
get
to
this wrong. 'Cause
determine
sometimes I
everything.
want to sound like I want to sound like Tolkien smart, but sometimes I get this wrong. Like he had an opinion. Tolkien had an opinion about one way or the other.
Okay. What was it? This is
Well,
important, Paul.
I feel like that it is with the FS.
You,
as
you
well.
feel like it because it helps your argument. I don't think that's a good excuse for that.
No one can refute me right now. Look, we only have what 33 seconds. No one can figure out this answer.
We
in
don't have
33
time
seconds.
to refute you right now. We don't have anything to look it up.
There's no time to research, and this is
No time to
this
research.
is the Fuego Rapido.
The Tolkien wiki has them as dwarves with the
Ah, so he does have an opinion.
With the VES?
V. Yeah.
Dwarves.
Can't be right.
Vz.
Okay, so here we go.
Bzz.
In a foreword to The Hobbit published in 1937, J.R.R. Tolkien writes, in English, the only correct plural of dwarf is dwarfs with an FS.
Oh crap.
And the adjective is dwarfish. In the story, dwarves and dwarvish are used, but only when speaking of the ancient people to whom Thorin Oakenshields and his companions belong.
Fuego.
Just like most Tolkien content, there was far more words in that than was necessary.
What?
But I don't know if that's right. That is just right off the internet.
Internet's
We had
never wrong.
seemed like generous time to do the
generous.
research. Yeah. Oh, look! Thanks for these Fuegos have been listener submitted. If you have a topic that you'd like us to butcher, actually, I think it's about the only way to describe it. Please
exactly
submit
right.
it, and we will do our best to butcher it.
If you expect us to take it
Some type of
seriously, you're
entertainment.
sorely mistaken.
But it's a nice little palate cleanser at the end of a bunch of crunchy Warhammer 40,000 stuff. So seriously, thanks everybody that tuned in live in the chat. If you are listening to this after the fact on one of the podcast aggregators, please consider leaving us a 5-star review, thumbs up, a like, or a comment on the YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. That's one of the ways that people can that you kind of trick the algorithms into having people find us. And it is exciting because we have more people to chat with, and the chat keeps driving this show along. We really appreciate it.
It really does.
Yeah, helping us figure out things that we can't figure out because we don't have time to research, guys. You're here saving us, making us look like we know what we're talking about. So please keep doing that.
All the stats are made up too. Where you just go through. I think there's like no sisters at this one. There's like,
those are the stats from the tournaments. Those we actually pull those in.
Those are the only thing we get accurate.
This
yes.
Look, this
Maybe
is
not
the
where they
meta
are.
show. Like we know what you're going to fight. Everyone knows what you're going to face out there. It's about how the different how people have chosen to try to tackle those things week after week, and it is an evolving thing. This ecosystem is alive, thriving, and it's pretty interesting. And it's fun breaking down the list and seeing how players are really coming about this. And that's the end of our show this week. Dustin, Adam, it's been a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Always
Love
a pleasure.
being here with you boys. Always look forward to Thursday.
We'll see y'all next week.
Good night.
See ya.